Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to the show. It's a beautiful Thursday evening, and today, alhamdulillah, we are blessed with beautiful showers here in Joburg. And we say, alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, it's a Thursday evening, and that means it's time for us to step into Call to Guidance, where we discuss da'wah and anything and everything that has to do with da'wah. Tonight, we are looking at a book which was written by brother Ebrahim Nelson. It's his own account and experiences of how he got into Islam, alhamdulillah, and trying to also encourage other people. And the title of the book is If I Can Be a Muslim, So Can You, mashallah. So that's what we're going to start off with, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Ibrahim, I hope you're well.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah, Moulana Yusuf. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing very well, shukr. Alhamdulillah, just having a little bit of rain here on my side, but alhamdulillah, I'm doing well, shukr.
No, shukr, alhamdulillah. It is a blessing indeed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are able to experience rain. When you're looking at the news, you find and you see other places what's happening, the famine taking place in Gaza and also in Sudan, the atrocities and some also bad, harsh weathers. And we just say alhamdulillah for our conditions. Brother Ibrahim, before we even go into the book, I would like us to take a moment and get to know yourself and your journey into Islam. Can you just take us back into how you got connected to Islam and how it was for you to move into a different and a new lifestyle of being a Muslim, inshallah?
Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I've had quite an interesting journey into Islam, and the journey continues. Alhamdulillah, I was born into a Roman Catholic family. Born in Baragwana Hospital, grew up in town. In my young days, Cliptown, Soweto. But Alhamdulillah, my education, proper education started basically my senior education. Started at a Catholic school in KZN, Little Flower School. It was a Catholic school. And Alhamdulillah, that is, say, my journey in religion started as a Roman Catholic. The benefit of being a Catholic, it introduced me to the concept of the existence of God. Alhamdulillah, fast-tracked my life a little bit. I spent high school in this Catholic school. And then when I matriculated, I was studying, working and studying in Joburg. I was doing industrial instrumentation engineering, and shukr, with that studies, we used to get a salary as well. So basically, I used to study during the week, and on weekends, I just had to enjoy myself with my friends. And ironically, even though I wasn't Muslim, but shukr, I neither used to smoke or drink alcohol. I just used to enjoy the company of my friends, going to clubs and that. But alhamdulillah, I was a person that had my limits. And in all this enjoyment, which was post-school, in my tertiary year, I came to realize that, coming from a religious background, and like the Catholic religion taught me that Allah does exist, God does exist, I felt a little void in my life that, when I was in the Catholic school, we attended church very regularly, sometimes 3 times a week compared to people once a week. We used to go like 3 times a week. And I was very active in the Catholic church in school. I was what we call an altar boy, things like that. So I wasn't just a sideline Catholic. I was an active and participating Catholic. But alhamdulillah, as I mentioned, post-school, when I was doing my tertiary, there was never really a driving force for me to go to church or anything. It was just earning, working, having fun. And then after about 2 years into this, my study program was between 3 to 4 years. So after about 2 years, I felt the spiritual void that my life, I'm earning, I'm enjoying life, but where is God? Where is Allah in my life? Like I'm using the term Allah now because that time I said God. But I said, where is God in my life? And I thought one day I'll just take a retreat into some mountain and make like a little hijrah and seek for God in my life. But alhamdulillah, my first introduction to Islam came by a book called Muhammad, the Natural Successor to Christ. And I can't clearly recall how I came upon it. But alhamdulillah, that was the first book about Islam that I read from Ahmad Didat. Alhamdulillah. And Moulana, you needed to say something?
Now I was saying, Rahimahullah, Sheikh Ahmad Didat's books were always something that brought people into getting to know more about Islam, mashallah.
Yes, it's always the key, or well, commonly it's the key to a door. But once you open the door, you see the vastness of Islam. But alhamdulillah, in that void, that spiritual void, with that book, something was ignited. And I still wasn't. I started getting more and more literature about Islam. And you know, sometimes, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works in ways against the norm of means that when I started acquiring more and more literature, ultimately, you know, in El Dorado Park, we have a very mixed community where Muslims and non-Muslims, there's an overlap. I'm talking a gender overlap. When I'm talking like, not necessarily the where I got my literature from was actually a female. She was so basically a friend of mine, and that's the issues that I tend to want to tackle in the near future, in my future books. But to put it that way, that's the nature of society in El Dorado Park, where after Kliptown and growing. And shukr alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me knowledge to me by an unorthodox and an unconventional means, some means which most of us, by every norm and standard, including myself, if it were my daughter, will be pointing fingers. But that is how Allah brought the deen and knowledge of deen to me. Because this girl, she must have been about 18, 19 after she finished school. She went into a cupboard and she went and go scratch out her old maktab kitabs from class 1 and class 2. And that's where I started intensifying my knowledge in Islam. And alhamdulillah, shukr, in this period of seeking for knowledge in Islam, I didn't yet accept Islam. I was visiting a friend in Yeovil, the Yeovil area in Johannesburg, and I was actually stuck at the bottom of the building. Now, remember, this is about 35 years ago, and there was no cell phones, 35, whatever years ago, when 33 to 35, no cell phones. So I'm stuck at the bottom of this building, trying to call my friend, but you can't just scream because it's a building. And there were some evangelical Christians who came by, and they were out on what we will call their gush. And so we were all of us were stuck in the bottom of this building, trying to get access, and they were on a different mission, and I was on my mission. But alhamdulillah, I'm a very accommodating person. I listened to their story, heard what they want to say, and alhamdulillah, they actually invited me to their prayer meetings and to their prayer gatherings. I must know the Catholic religion back then was very structured, and evangelicals was more spirited and more fiery. So you could say it's a more slightly deeper end of Christianity. In terms of Akida, it's questionable because the Catholics are more straight-laced, but the evangelicals are more fired up. So I'd say a little deeper end of Christianity. So alhamdulillah, I dove in with them, and I was attending their gatherings, listening to all their talks, and we used to go on weekend excursions and things like that. But alhamdulillah, the turning point, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it an actual turning point in my life because I've been studying Islam all the time. The turning point was on the day they were actually a startup church. They've now grown exponentially, to my understanding, but they were a startup church that was renting a flat in Yeovil. So while we were having one of our gatherings, after about 3 to 4 months I was with them, there was one brother, they already had pre-run the bath because when we came to the prayer meeting, I never had any bath running. So they took this brother and they baptized him in the bath. They were a real startup church. And then after baptizing him, we all prayed for the brother. Then they said, Brother Corsten, my name was Corsten. They said, Brother Corsten, when are you going to literally take the plunge like Brother Llewellyn? Wallahi, not only did I shock them, but I shocked myself as well. Because you must remember, I was a Catholic, practicing Catholic. They took me a little bit deeper into the side of Christianity, the more vibrant side. And immediately I said to them, you know what, brother, I really appreciated the time we spent together. It brought me some spiritual growth because I had a spiritual void in my life. But to be honest with you, deep down in my heart, I want to become a Muslim. And that even shocked me because it was the first time that I actually mouthed those words to anyone, including myself. And alhamdulillah, fast track to things. If I fast track things, once I declared those words, it was like, if we want to call Shahadat grade 1, then that was my grade R Shahadat. It was my pre-Shahadat. Because then I knew, then I just started going at it, because I said there's no turning back. I started going at it. I used to study, read Islam books, whatever, to get out to sit from 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, studying Islam as a non-Muslim. So much so that, alhamdulillah, even as a non-Muslim, I had this vibe and feeling that it was the month of Ramadan, because I studied about Ramadan, and I fasted the entire month of Ramadan as a non-Muslim. The only unfortunate thing is that my sehri used to be around about 7 o'clock, because I never knew sehri time particularly, and my iftar used to be like after Isha. So it was quite a long fast, alhamdulillah. But shukr, alhamdulillah, ultimately I did accept Islam. I went to Africa Muslim Agency in Forgeburg, where I accepted Islam. And shukr, alhamdulillah, and Ustad who took my shahadat referred me to Bertram's Way. He said, when I said, Moulana, you know what, now I'm a Muslim and I'm from Bertram's Way, am I going to get a Muslim community? He said, you don't worry, go to Bertram's. My good friend Moulana Musa Memi is there. Moulana Musa Memi, who was my first Ustad, was teaching at the Johannesburg Muslim School. If you can look at the stuff, 33 odd years ago. And shukr, alhamdulillah, I was just speaking to my mother the other day that I've written what I've mentioned now as part of a biography of a book that I'm writing that's almost done, about 80% done, called Catapulted. So, and in the book, I put the joke, I say Islam was on the front end, I was in the Catholic, the evangelicals pulled me deeper into Christianity, and when I said no, I got shot into Islam. I got catapulted into Islam, and that's the title of my biography. And why I'm bringing that up is they said, alhamdulillah, Allah's mercy has always been with me, and that when I got catapulted, I had a very soft landing, and I landed up in a Yves class in the Quran, where the Quran was. Allah landed me on the Quran because Moulana Meni was actually a Yves Ustad, and I ended up with him. And my first Ustad, because he was doing Yves and that, he put one of the youngsters to start teaching me Alif Bata, which is a 6-year-old Zain Kara. And I always mention him as being one of my first to start. Now, coming to the book, this was a bit of a long-winded way, but this is where the book started. So within 4 months of accepting Islam, plus minus 3 to 4 months of accepting Islam, there were people who were coming to Bertram's Masjid. This all happened in Bertram's Masjid. Alhamdulillah, I was fortunate to catch, we had a musalla. I caught the last 3-4 months of the musalla before Bertram's Masjid opened. So my entire new beginning in Islam was in the new beginnings of Bertram's Masjid. So alhamdulillah, Bertram's Masjid is always like home to me. And it always will be, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, so I ended up in this class, in the wing of the youth class. And alhamdulillah, I will start after 3-4 months. Other brothers came and they were interested in accepting Islam, or not interested, some had accepted Islam and they needed to be taught. And my Ustad referred them to me. He said, Ebrahim, you can teach the brothers. He said, but Moulana, I'm like a new Muslim. What do I know? And all that. He said, Ebrahim, whatever you know, you teach. You can't say you know nothing. In 4 months, you've learned so much. So I said, alhamdulillah, man, I'll see what I can do. And I started teaching them. So being a person who loves to write and a person who, my life in other aspects is quite chaotic, but my writing, I'm passionate about my writing. I've been always passionate, even from high school. So much. So just going back to high school, when I was in standard 6 and standard 7, the matriculants used to come to me and ask me to write them stories and compositions at matric level, and they used to get good marks. So writing was always my thing. But alhamdulillah, coming back to this, I decided, alhamdulillah, that I am going to compile a set of notes. The name of the class, if some of the listeners may remember, there was a Mufti Mehmood Saab from India, Mufti Mehmood Gangohi. Mehmood, he passed away in South Africa and is buried in Elsburg. He had named our Madrasa Faiz Quran. So I started compiling these notes. It was just a couple of notes that I started and I typeset at a good friend of mine. He allowed me, actually, because I wasn't computer literate, Brother Sabir Karim. I did my first typing 30 odd years ago at his house, started these notes. And I was teaching from these notes. It was the complete basic Akira And principally, it was based upon establishing Salah. Because even in me coming into Islam, alhamdulillah, even my reading about Islam and my learning about Islam, this is an advice that I can give any and every Muslim that reverts to Islam. That alhamdulillah, it is for a great reason. I'm not of the Mufassirin, but my understanding is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that to perform everything else, but it is mentioned that to establish Salah. Because Rasulullah mentioned, there's a hadith that mentions, when we pass on, that when we are questioned, the first thing that will be questioned will be about our Salah. If our Salah is in order, then everything else is in order. So I took that hadith in the literal sense, even as a new Muslim. And I said, what, if I establish Salah, and I compile notes to establish Salah, that every new Muslim, my emphasis was on how does the person become tahir? In other words, how does he perform taharat in terms of wuzu, ghusl, tayammum, and that was my first, and also istinja, very important. And the second thing is how, basically, in a nutshell, my question is when I get a revert, like even up to now also, when somebody reverts into Islam, I actually try and impress upon them that if you take shahadat now, before the next work is over, your accountability for salah for this work already starts. That is how serious I take salah, alhamdulillah. So I try to be very emphatic. That's why those notes were primarily on how to read salah. And alhamdulillah, there was a bit of aqidah, and well, they had to space aqidah belief, who is Allah, who is the Prophet, and certain things. They didn't it doesn't even go into who the companions, it was just basically on Risalat, Tawheed, and that. But alhamdulillah, that notes were sufficed for the small ethnic. I wouldn't even call it a class, it was a little halka, but it was about 4 or 5 students, and shukr, it sufficed. And as time progressed, the students moved away and the whole thing like more or less died down, but the notes were always in my file. I kept them away. And shukr, alhamdulillah, Moulana, I don't know if you now I'm going to be basically starting with my kitab. So if you want to interject or have any questions so far, because from now, from this point on, from those notes, I will start speaking about where I started writing the kitabs that I'm busy with at the moment, and that is in. So does Moulana perhaps have any questions on what I've spoken about thus far? Assalamu alaikum.
Can you hear me?
Gigi, Moulana, do you have any questions? Because as of now, the next part of what I'll be speaking about is my actual publication.
No, I just saying now in terms of time, in 1 minute, inshallah, if you can just give us a quick summary and also where people can get the books, inshallah, if possible.
Okay. So basically, alhamdulillah, just to summarize, that those notes ultimately evolved into a book which I'll be publishing soon, called I Can Learn and Practice the Basic Fundamentals of Islam. And the book in its current form, I Can Be a Muslim, is the actual expansion on that early book. And the follow-up to that, alhamdulillah, is what I'm currently busy with, is If I Can Be a Muslim too, which deals with personalities in Islam, including the Prophet, Nabi Sallallahu, all the prophets and his companions and his family. And that, alhamdulillah, that is what I've been busy with. That book will be called If I Can Be a Muslim too. The availability of the book, alhamdulillah, at the moment, I will be launching my website soon. The website will be if I can be a Muslim.co.za. In about 2 weeks, I'll be launching the website. But if anybody is interested, they can contact me personally on this number. Moulana can post it on your site. My number is 064 653 3770. They can contact me on that number via WhatsApp. If there's anybody needs the books, this book is not only for revert Muslims, but also for born Muslims, how they can make muzakara and practice. Sometimes you find that they haven't had the full maktab experience, and this is actually quite beneficial even for born Muslims. So, alhamdulillah, like I said, the website will be active hopefully in about 2 weeks. It's icanbeamuslim.co.za, and my personal number at the moment if any organization or madrasa or individuals want to know where to get the books, I can arrange for it. My number once again is 064 653 3770. Alhamdulillah, Moulana.
Alhamdulillah. Just keep us in your du'as, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a success and make it a means of dawah, calling people more and more to Islam, inshallah ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah. Shukra jazakallah, Moulana.
No,
Wa
barakallah
alaikum
feekum.
salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, that brother Ebrahim Nelson with his book, If I Can Be a Muslim, So Can You. So as he said, if you need more information, you can contact him on 064 653 3770, inshallah, to know where to get the book and to see how we can also use it as a means and a way of inciting people and getting them to know more about Islam, inshallah, on a basic point of view. And this is nice because it's coming from a person who experienced how to embrace Islam by learning these same points and tenets, inshallah ta'ala. So we'll take a break, inshallah. Thereafter, after the break, we'll be discussing with the brother Hassan Kajaja, all the way from my hometown, Atteridgeville, as we discuss the upcoming Dawah workshop, which is taking place this Sunday, inshallah ta'ala. So let's take a break and we'll be back, inshallah.